Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus. We're talking about, is it safe to astral project or remote view into top secret government installations? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. But before we jump into that topic, I know it's been a few days since I had any videos up. I've been kind of in that tumultuous going between countries, getting acclimated phase. Now, in case you haven't guessed it by the apparent palace I'm in, I am in Jaipur, India, actually staying at a very interesting old hotel for a few days, doing a little bit of a splurge. And it's very exciting here. It's a place I'll talk a lot about maybe in my travel blog or maybe even here on this channel. It's a very spiritual place. Definitely getting adjusted, a little bit of culture shock, pretty wild here in India. And it's really, you get that ancient feeling here. I'm out in the deserts, the Thar Desert, which I'll be doing some explorations in coming up. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, so to continue with the topic, oh yeah, by the way, this is Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. If you like subjects like remote viewing and life after death and what have you, you can get involved by just really helping out by subscribing to the channel or punching that big blue notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. But if you want to guarantee one-on-one time talking to me, answering questions, getting involved on the kind of like the VIP level or joining classes that we do twice a week, then you can become a patron of the work we do here at the Patreon, as little as $3 a month. And that would also really help me. Really easy to sign up. That link is in the channel description. Just click show more and click patreon.com/afterlife topics. Or just subscribe, that's free. It's all ways to kind of help keep this thing going. I depend on you guys. So to continue, a topic I've seen come up frequently is what happens if you astral project into a top secret government installation. Is that a good idea? And sometimes in this field, there's a lot of stories, a lot of anecdotes, and there can be a lot of BS as well. But I pay attention when there's a repeat of people's accounts, all saying the same thing again and again from varied sources. And then you have some insiders who have said the same thing. So I don't remember, it might have been Emery Smith or one of those alleged government whistleblowers who also made similar claims about what happens when a civilian attempts to use remote viewing powers or astral projection powers to spy on government installations. And usually the answer is things don't turn out so well. And so there was, I've read numerous stories about this, but there was one story on a astral projection Facebook group that I want to highlight. Now, of course, I have this person being kept anonymous. I don't want to violate their privacy. Hopefully, you don't mind me recounting the story. I saved it as a screenshot a couple weeks back. And so this is this person's account of what happened. So let's take a listen. Once I astral projected to Area 51. I explored some of the military sites. It is mostly just bunkers with computers and office space. There are a few spots with secret government technology, experimental vehicles, etc. No clue if any of it was extraterrestrial or just top secret research projects. But there was some pretty crazy stuff. Interestingly, I'll point out, as we speak, the government is sort of revealing the TR-3B, the triangular craft. They put a patent on that technology in 2016. Patent was approved. It uses type of, what is it? It's a mass reduction based technology. You can Google this. It's on metro.co.uk. And it's the same craft people have been seeing for years, but now they're trying to leak it out to the public, and probably was designed in Area 51. And once this thing is fully revealed, then it's going to be imagine taking inexpensive joyrides into outer space. We're going to be on a whole new level. It's going to be really great. So from this very positive kind of like pro-American, like, yeah, America #1 point of view, we can say Area 51, what a great place, soon it's going to bring us a new space age, they do all this great work there, blah, blah, blah. But of course, it's not that simple, is it? There's probably some shenanigans going on in that place as well. But let's continue. Unfortunately, I came across a room with some camera-like viewing equipment that could immediately detect me as I entered the room. They pointed some type of jamming device at me that caused me to wake up with a headache. Over the next couple days, I noticed I was being followed. There was a black car watching me. It was as if they wanted me to know they were following. The third day after that, I was leaving my home to go to work. The car was parked right across the street from my house, and I looked directly at the driver, who was a white guy in a suit. He had sunglasses on, sounds like Men in Black, but he looked directly at me and made eye contact for a second. Well, I haven't seen nor heard any such thing again, but of course I'm not going to astral project to potentially sketchy areas like that anymore. So not the first time I've heard this. There was that remote viewer, John Vivanco, mentioned this in a presentation I listened to. I'm trying to recall the name of his website off the top of my head. You can just Google John Vivanco. It's V as in Victor, Vivanco. Very, very, very interesting guy. Long history of working in the private sector with remote viewing. He's talked about the same concept. That when you go into these top high-level installations, sometimes we'll even get counter remote viewers and counter astral projectors. So there will be people stationed who will literally astrally attack you if you go into some of these facilities, and it can result in being exposed to a barrage of psychic attacks as soon as you wake up, or as soon as you snap out of that state, even being attacked or followed physically, like what happened to this guy. And I think the first time is a warning. The second time, probably, Area 51 has a sign that basically says if you've trespassed, we'll shoot and kill you. Well, I'm pretty sure after the first warning is issued, then, you're probably going to be disappeared if you decide to keep trying to spy on a military installation. So how do they do this? Well, they do have this. Apparently, they have the technology to see into that spectrum, to notice if there is an astral projector, a remote viewer coming in, or a deceased person. Because if you're deceased, doesn't mean your service stops. You can just be hired again by whatever deep state program you're involved with, and then from that position of being deceased, now you have all these powers as a spy. And so that's a big problem. And so they've worked out all these methods of fighting back against that. Believe that in China, this stuff is very well known. There was this book that I've been meaning to read. I think it's called like Secret History of Chinese Psychic Spies or something like that. I don't remember the name. It's actually been referenced by Victor Zamet at A Lawyer Presents the Case for the Afterlife a couple times. It's on my to-read list, but there's a long history of the Chinese employing this kind of stuff too, whether that is hiring psychics, remote viewers, or hiring dead people. Nothing is off the table in the underground world of black projects, where this can be a foremost means of gathering information. And the fewer the people, the fewer the normies, the fewer the muggles that know about this stuff, the better, because if lots of normal citizens know about this stuff, then it's a huge national security risk or a privacy risk for powerful private entities. Boeing or Lockheed Martin, the private sector doesn't want people to know about the non-material physics, because they don't want armies of remote viewers and astral projectors exposing them to the public. So that being said, what about the ethics of this? So when you think about it, a government has the right to privacy and to have a secret installation for national security. So how is remote viewing or projecting into it any more ethical than sneaking in like a cat burglar? The answer is that it isn't. And what would happen? Okay, let's say Area 51 is developing this TR3B, and whoever develops it first has access to, be able to do stuff that all other countries cannot do. Let's say there's a country that likes to do things like slaughter people for having different religious beliefs. Like, let's say China. China is a big fan of slaughtering people who do Falun Gong and having a complete dictatorship that rules the country with an iron fist. So the Chinese are not very nice people. Well, that is to say the Chinese government, not the Chinese themselves. And let's say we don't want the Chinese to know about our TR3B. And what if the Chinese got their hands on developing some kind of reverse engineered like ET technology or something before we do, and then they use that technology to basically hold our country hostage, and then pretty soon we're saluting the Chinese flag and being systematically decimated and being forced to convert to communism, right? Doesn't sound like a good idea to me. How do you prevent that from happening? How do you prevent your country and people from being destroyed? You have to enact security protocols. And then what happens if people can bypass those protocols by remote viewing or astral projecting? Then you're going to put a lot of money and time into figuring out ways around that, whether that means employing astral security guards who are maybe deceased people, or having high technology. Maybe they picked up off of some UFO that they stick inside their facilities, whatever the case may be. My opinion of this is that they do have a right to guard this stuff, and being hit by a warning, basically by some agent coming by and saying, hey, don't do this again. I mean, that is kind of the ethical response. The unethical response would be, a one and done. You do it and then you get eliminated, taken out. But and a lot of people, they discover this stuff for the first time and they think, ooh, goody, I want to go and spy on, Area 51. Then they need to be given that leeway and be forgiven. If we were a complete totalitarian country, and don't get me wrong, USA is pretty bad, but if we were really, really bad, then there wouldn't even be a grace period. They'd just be like making these people disappear. So that's the final consensus about this, is you don't want to do it. You got to think about it just like being a cat burglar, and what rules would exist in that same situation. Whether that is, the ethics of spying on private citizens or sneaking into military installations. So handle this type of stuff with a lot of care. But if you are somebody who's very skilled at remote viewing or astral projecting, more skilled than I am, I can't do it. I can't like select a target and then appear there astrally, at least not at this point. But a lot of other people are a lot more skilled than I am. And they can do those types of things. And if that's you, then that's great. Find a way to productively use it. What are secrets that will help out the world that you can uncover? Like the CIA, they have all these documents on CIA.gov. They were sending a remote viewer out to spy on Mars and get information about Mars like a million years ago. And they discovered through the remote viewer that there was a civilization on Mars. And all those documents are on the CIA website, available for the public to read. So they consider that like useful data that they can share with the public. So if you're a remote viewer, what kind of useful data can you pick up? That is not something that's going to hurt national security and potentially sabotage a tech race that we might be having with a very evil country like China. So those are my thoughts about that. One last thought I have about this, though, is I am kind of giving kind of this pro-American view, but there's another way of looking at that, though, is that what we call the deep state, which is basically private entities, private corporations being married to the government and working on black projects, something that this is a big topic I could probably spend a lot of time on. They've apparently skirted around so many ethics, and there's stuff happening now just outside of the realm of America and what America is supposed to believe in, that I don't think that in the United States or in these military complexes it's all good guys. I think that there's some really bad guys too, but I also think it's a mix. And regardless, it's not going to be a good idea for little old you to pick a fight with them, because they're onto this kind of stuff. They're not fools. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for coming by. Get involved at afterlifetopics.com. I talk more about remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, and black projects, and all kinds of topics like that in my latest book, The Afterlife and Beyond. You can grab that on Amazon or head to afterlifetopics.com and pick up a copy. And I guess that's it for this video. I'll have another video coming up soon, live from the palace in the desert, which is really just kind of looks really nice, but it's kind of a cheaply designed hotel room, I'm sorry to say. Like a lot of stuff that looks really nice in here, you will investigate and see that it's made of like plastic resin or something. Well, not these columns, but like other stuff in here. So a little tacky, but hey, actually the bed looks really nice, and the bed is comfortable, thank God. I've been on this like hard as a rock bed in Vietnam the last couple of weeks, so finally I'm not hurting my back anymore. Anyway, enough rambling. I'll catch you guys next time.